How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Bears Baseball Network. We have our youth prep preview for the 2023 season. And Damian, you've joined the show today, obviously head of 7 and 8 Nickerson. And Dame, I'll tell you what, the youth prep program obviously has grown a lot in the past basically year and a half. And I would say, obviously the guys we're going to talk about today are big names between you and I, but I'm not sure how many of the general Bear population knows these guys. So I think it's going to be a great episode to get to know some of these players, kind of to the general Bear population, and then later on we will have Mac Floyd on to talk about 9 and 10U. But let's go ahead and start with a couple of the stars of this team. Dame, at least from last year, to me, it was kind of like the big three of this roster, which Blake Nickerson, Alex Hockmuth, and Easton Taylor. Those three are the three that always kind of stuck out to me as the face, you could say, of this 7-8U team. Tell me about those three and the winner that those three have had specifically.
I'll tell you this. With the amount of work that those three have put in through the wintertime, I think it's going to be very exciting. And ideally, with the amount of growth that Alex has had, Blake might go to the leadoff, right? The amount of power that Alex has generated over this winter has been amazing. He did get a new bat as well. He went from that USA bat to a USSSA. So very excited to see Alex and those three do well.
Yeah, and of course Blake probably going to start the season as your third baseman. He's kind of been that big out-getter for you in the infield. But Alex himself is a pretty good defender. Obviously, we've talked about before in the show, first base is one of the most important positions at the younger levels because it kind of just makes your whole infield better. Tell me about Alex and the impact he has at first base.
I'll tell you this. Alex has come a long way from getting balls off the first to getting balls off the right. Being able to catch the balls in the dirt and over his head, was our challenge. But I do believe when we start getting those routine outs between third base, short, and second, that's when you're going to see this team truly take off. Very excited for this year. I think we have grown leaps and bounds for that. So very excited to get those additional outs that we'll get on the field.
Yeah, and I want to talk about Easton. Easton Taylor, probably going to be your shortstop going into the year. He was probably the number 3 hitter in terms of Blake and Alex being kind of 1 and 2 best hitters last year, and then Easton was kind of the third behind them. Tell me about the winter he's had in terms of offense and defense.
I'll tell you this, his arm strength for defensively has grown tremendously. That was, I won't say one of the worries that I had, but coming into this season, he's going to be very excited. We're going to be very electrifying, and Easton on the offensive side is definitely going to produce where he was. One of the coaches said that Nickerson Taylor Express, right? Gets up and makes you rise and learn. So I look forward to seeing that continue this summer as well.
And another guy who I think joined your team more in the middle of the fall last year, that was Mason Arens, who really came in and had a big impact on the team. Really hit well down the season. Now you're getting a full winter with him, a full season with him. Give me your thoughts on Mason going into this year.
I can tell you this guy has ridiculous power. So ideally, about 3, 4, 5 rounds, I chase throughout the winter with, truly and lead that way. When we talk about that guy there, I'm truly amazed what he done this winter. So hats off to him for the work that he put in. Really appreciate it, and I'd like to see him hit some over the fence.
Yeah, and talking about the team as a whole, this team, I know your goal last fall was to go 500. Basically achieved, I think 18 and 19 was your final record. A very successful season, in my opinion. Going over the winter, obviously, the Bears are kind of known for making big leaps over the winter, winter training. Give me your thoughts on what areas you think this team, obviously you've improved over time, but specifically what areas do you think this team's really going to take a step forward this year?
So I think we're going to see a rare lineup, oil machine going. Like I pointed to earlier, 3, 4, 5 positions can change weekly, right? So when we talk about Mason, Joe, Joseph Moore, we put Ryan in that mix as well. He's probably had one of the better winners. He's been with me for a while. This hitting has increased tremendously. And nobody knows about that sleeper guy. You get a hold of one to go a long way as well.
Yeah, you're talking about Ryan Mercini?
Yep, you got it.
Ryan Mercini, he's a kid that, obviously I'm not around the youth prep guys as much as you are, but whenever I walk over there, man, I remember asking coaches, I was like, who is this kid? He's going hard right now in practice. Yeah, he's a kid I like a lot. And, going over kind of the rest of these names, maybe somebody we haven't mentioned yet. So besides those top 3, Mason and Ryan, give me another guy who you think's had a big winner for this team.
So what you're going to see is Leo Russell. He's going to start in the 4 hole. This guy's jumped in the free swing. Well, we needed from him last year to get more consistent, and I think we're going to see that from him, especially batting in between. We got Mason and Blake in there. So trying to get that filled up, I think Leo is going to have a very, very offensive season this year.
You know, to me, the 7-8U game is really about limiting how many run rules the other team has, right?
Absolutely.
It's kind of a game of, okay, we scored 5, they scored 5, we scored 5. The first team that can get 3 out kind of wins the game a lot of the times. Tell me about how this team defensively is going to stack up compared to how they were last year.
I tell you, let's start with the outfield. Our outfield has grown tremendously over the last couple of weeks with having Joseph Moore out there and having Mason out there. When you talk about 2 fast guys that can track down balls, to balls that's hitting the gap and getting them in, we're going to eliminate those additional bases that's coming through. And with that being said, just the amount of catching and throwing that we did, being able to catch that ball from the outfield, was used to stop that base runner from vaulting forward. So I think we have we do get a lot of outs in the infield, which I truly do think that's going to continue. We've gotten better there as well. So defensively, I think we got a huge uptick from practicing this winter.
Looking at the guys who are probably not going to start the season on your team, but will be on the second team, of those guys there, who is one or maybe 2 names that you see that maybe not this year, but in the future could have a big impact on this team?
I'll tell you this, we got a cutoff guy, Christian. He got him a free swing this winter. He had a very great winter as far as defense is concerned. You know, still got a little more kinks to work out, but, you know, the top 4 guy as well. He was there previously, but with the addition of the players that we got on, you know, we work a little bit more. Second to that, with Peter, thank you, Peter, for saying your name, Rocha. I do that wrong. This kid got a super strong arm, also a big bat. You know, we played up some of the defensive stuff. I haven't seen him enough to say, hey, this is a first team guy, but I definitely will be in there probably somewhere mid-season. So good luck to those guys and seeing if they can make the top team.
Yeah, and last question here, Dame. Like we said, 500 last year. Give me some of your goals for this season and how you want to see this team perform.
So what I would like to see is us hit through the order. You know, we hit very well, but we didn't hit through the order entirely. So our first objective, as you stated, we can get to 5 runs first. We want to get to those 5 runs and then play great defense. So first of all, we want to hit well, and secondly, we want to get through routine outs and see if we get some of those outs on the bases.
Yeah, absolutely. Damian, thank you so much for joining. We're going to take a quick break, but don't go anywhere because Mac Floyd's going to join the show to talk about 9 and 10U. We'll be right back.
See you guys.
We are back here on the Bears Baseball Network. Mac Floyd has joined the show to talk about 9 and 10U to continue our youth prep preview for the 2023 season. Mac, I'll tell you what, a lot of these guys new to the Bears. Obviously, you got a couple guys who were part of that 9-10U group last year where the 10U guys moved on to Bears 11U, and obviously these guys are returning. And I kind of want to start with those guys, you know, specifically Whedon Hainline, Lucas Closter, 2 guys who were on this team last summer, and especially Whedon, who was a very good pitcher for that team, and Lucas Closter, who was a guy who a lot of power, a potentially very good fielder as well. I want to start with those guys, kind of the leaders, or at least they've been here the longest in terms of the Bears. Give me your thoughts on Whedon and Lucas and what you think they're going to bring to this season.
You know, I'm really excited to see Whedon pitch. I mean, I've seen this guy all the time in pitching. I had a session with him a few months ago. I mean, the guy's just going to go out there and he's going to deal every time. I've seen him throw strikes. And he's also got that bat that he can use. I mean, I've seen him hit for power. He crushes the ball in the cage. Closer, he's just a guy. I've seen him pitch. I've seen him hit. He throws the ball super hard, throws really hard and quick, makes great plays in the field. I mean, I'm really excited to see those 2.
Yeah, Lucas Closter, you know, I coached this team last summer. Lucas Closter was a guy who was in between the top and bottom team, but he was a guy I really liked a lot because you saw the power potential, you saw the arm talent, and you just knew that this guy had a lot in him. It's really nice to see him put it all together. Mac, I know you're thinking about playing Lucas in center field. What do you think kind of defense he's going to bring to the outfield?
I think he's going to be our fastest guy. I think he's going to make the best plays out there. He's going to be our best fielder.
Yeah, absolutely. And Whedon, you know, I agree with you, Mac. I remember calling Whedon up to the top team back last summer, and obviously he was up there more so as a pitcher, but then he ended up getting a couple hits for us as well. So I think his bat kind of gets slept on because he's known as a big pitcher, but I definitely think he's going to contribute with the bat as well. Let's move on, Mac. I know you got these pair of twins, new to the Bears. Jackson, what's the other one's name?
Jameson.
Jackson and Jameson, the Wiegand twins. And I'll tell you what, Mac, I've seen these guys in practice, both very, very impressive, and it's hard to not compare them to the Meyer twins. You know, obviously the Meyer twins have been the face of that 13U team. You've got these couple of twins who are both very exciting. Tell me about both of them, starting with Jackson.
Jackson, I mean, they're both really the same player. They both are some of the best players I've ever seen at this age. They crush the ball. They both throw hard. I mean, it's insane what these two can do. And sometimes I can't even tell them apart because they're both playing great. I mean, it's insane. Our left side of the infield is going to be fantastic.
Yeah, like you said, Mac, that's your shortstop and third baseman. I think you talked to me before that both of them are going to pitch as well and hit in the middle of that order. Moving into the offensive side, Mac, you're looking at this team. You gave me kind of a projected order with Lucas Closer at the top, Owen Dobrinsky, who we haven't talked about yet, and then these two twins. The top four of this order should be very, very scary. Give me your thoughts on the top four of this order.
We're going to be a scary team. I mean, I think we're going to score 4 right off the bat every game. I mean, I know all 4 of these guys can crush the ball over the fence. I mean, I'm really excited to see what they can do.
Defensively, Mac, you talked about having these twins on the left side. Owen Dobrinsky, another very good infielder. And then Luke Rackley as well, who projects to be your first baseman, a guy who, at least from what I've seen in practice, looks very good at first base. And at this level, Mac, a good first baseman can really make the rest of your team better. Give me your thoughts about Luke, first on the defensive side, and then his bat as well.
Luke, I mean, he's a guy I came in, I didn't really know anything about him, but he's shown up and he's shown that what he can do. I mean, he catches every ball, he can pick, he can throw. I mean, it's crazy to see him at first and just what he can do. I mean, he looks like a major leaguer out there.
Yeah, you know, the Wiegand twins, Luke Rackley, Lucas Closer, obviously Whedon, that kind of to me is the face of this 9-10U team. But give me a couple other guys, you know, maybe 1 or 2 guys who've had very good off seasons that we haven't talked about yet.
Oh, I mean, there's so many. I mean, we got Howie Meal. I mean, that's a guy that I was on my radar at the beginning, but when I've seen him in the cage, he just absolutely crushes the baseball every time. And then we got another guy, James Moore, my catcher. I mean, he has a cannon behind the plate. He catches every ball, and if you want him to, he can crush some baseballs.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, Mac, you gave me kind of what you thought was going to be the top roster for this team, but you've got a lot of guys who are going to be on that second team. Give me a couple of guys that maybe not this year, but in the future you could see being big contributors for this top team.
One of my guys, definitely Ben Bonchek. I mean, the guy is one of the best fielders I've ever seen out there. He crushes the ball. Once he gets, you know, his hitting and it's all put together for him, he's going to be a dirty player.
Yeah, Ben, what position does he play?
Outfield.
Oh, yeah, so there you go. Another very good outfielder for this team. And, Mac, looking at your outfield, we already talked about Lucas. Whedon Hainline probably going to be in the outfield out there. Howie Meal as well. Outfield is one of these things at the 9-10U age that can really be the difference maker in a lot of these teams. There's a lot of teams who don't have outfielders who can make plays out there. Tell me about your outfield. I know you've been really excited about them defensively.
Oh, I'm really excited. I mean, there's going to be some balls hit that our guys are going to get to that other coaches are going to say, wow, look at these guys. I mean, they're all quick. They all can make amazing plays. I've seen them all make diving plays in the outfield. I mean, it's crazy what these guys can do.
Mac, we already talked about Whedon. We talked about the Wiegand twins. Give me some other guys who you think are going to make up this pitching staff that you said is going to be very, very competitive this year.
Definitely Closter, Dobrinsky, Moore. I mean, they're all just fantastic pitchers. I mean, the twins, Dobrinsky, all of them, they're going to be amazing pitchers on this squad.
Yeah, it's not just throwing strikes, Mac. You've got some guys who can really throw hard on this team. Obviously, they're going to hit the ball well. Talk to me a little bit more, Mac, about the bottom half of this order. I know you kind of mentioned Howie Meal already and James Moore. Another kid that I've heard you talk about, Mason Hume. Tell me about him and the...
Matthew Hume.
Matthew Hume, my bad. Matthew Hume. Tell me about him and the impact you think he'll make with the bat.
I mean, this is a guy that I didn't really see at the beginning. I had my assistant coaches talk to me. They said, look at this guy right here. And I watched him in the cage, and he just absolutely hammers the baseball every time he's in there. I mean, it's kind of crazy what he can do. I mean, he looks like he's hitting the ball 100 miles per hour off the bat.
And, Mac, you know, maybe a couple other guys who maybe won't start the season in the starting lineup, but on the bench. Give me a name or two that's going to be a big contributor off the bench that may work their way into the starting lineup.
Cooper Woolen. I mean, that's a guy that, you know, people may not look at the field and think he's that guy, but he's definitely one of the best players out there, and he is one of the more underrated players you'll see. I mean, he can crush the ball. He's a good fielder. I mean, he can pitch too, so I'm really excited for him.
Mac, everything you've seen from this team in the offseason, obviously, what do you think has been the biggest, you know, progression from your team from the beginning of offseason to now? What areas do you think you've improved the most?
I mean, I can't say a place where they haven't improved. But I mean, our hitting just looks phenomenal. And I'll tell them, let's try to crush the ball today, and they will just hit some balls that I've never seen these kids be able to hit before. I mean, we can field the ball. Every ball in the outfield is caught. I look at the infield. Every ground ball is fielded. I mean, in our pitching, we just throw strikes and we throw it hard. We're going to scare some teams.
With everything you've seen, Mac, give me your goals and maybe your thoughts about the upcoming season.
My goal is definitely to win some tournaments, to scare some other teams, and I even want to get every guy in there. I want all my players to hit home runs.
Mac, thank you so much for joining the show. That's going to do it for our youth prep season preview. A very good episode. You know, we don't get to talk about the youth prep guys very often, and it's very exciting to get to kind of mention these names that are going to be future Bears stars. But that's going to do it for this episode of the Bears Baseball Network, and we'll talk to you all next week.